Gets away from Henderson, looking for options. And in the end, it's hit over the bar.
لا ليس الآن. Too stressful. It's too stressful.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We got this one. Bismillah.
Bismillah. Let's be honest. Shaykh Haroon, I hope you're well. Some of the hadith relating to the event.
Hold on, sir. Hold on. Come on. Give him a nice little introduction. Come on. Bismillah. You start off. Bismillah. Alhamdulillah. Marhaba.
I thought you'd already done that.
I've just come on right now.
Oh, right. Okay. Sorry. I thought they let me in late or something.
I think they only just started it.
All right. Okay.
You do the intro while I share this on Facebook.
Okay.
And also
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alameen wa salatu wa salam ala rasulina kareem Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Jazakumullah khair to everyone for waiting patiently and for joining us again for usual question and answer sessions. And it's Shaykh Haroon doesn't like it to be too deep. I like it when it's deep, but definitely today, if we can keep it light, so Shaykh Haroon can keep an eye on the score, then that would be appreciated.
In fact, Dr. even better than that. Can you answer most of the questions so I can just watch the game instead?
No, that's not happening. That's not happening.
Because you know one thing that occurred to me? You know when we schedule these, we need to check the Premier League fixtures. We need to work around the fixtures.
I know,
right?
it's always when there's a Liverpool match on. Yeah, it's always when I've spoken about this before. So yeah, alhamdulillah. We've got questions. You ready?
We'll start, yeah.
Yeah.
Are we going to do this like a little podcast, where we have a little chat, or?
Why not?
Isn't that what we do normally? Before we start though, the brother and Rawdah, have you streamed this on Facebook yet or not? Can you do that if you haven't, so that we can share it? Bismillah, let's go for it, Dr. Sam. MashaAllah, I'm not a lip reader, bro. Something's happened to your mic. Oh, is it on my side? Oh, yes, my side. Sorry, I'll just go on you. Carry on. No, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now, yeah.
Yeah. So he's asking about a hadith relating to the events of the Malahim at the end of time. Mention that people will have swords. Is this to be taken literally, such that we may return back to sort of the Dark Ages, or is this metaphorical, where swords may refer to guns?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Anas, yeah, Afan, don't take that, don't close that question until
Yeah, I haven't closed it.
Yeah, because it also ties into the second point. I was informed by one of the close students of Shaykh Asrar that Shaykh Salman al-Nasr is of the opinion that nukes will likely to be used in the Malahim at the end time. Yeah, that's what I understand from him as well. And in fact, so just to be clear, the Malahim, for those who are unaware, the Malahim at the end times, these are the great wars that will happen at the end times of humanity, which will make World War I and World War II look like a picnic. So one time we asked him that question, and he said that the majority of the awliya of Sham, of Syria, and he said there's a virtual agreement amongst them that will happen, that there will be nuclear warfare. And that's indicating some ahadith where the Prophet spoke about al-masakh, where there'll be disfigurement of people, and people's forms will change. So and also the regression of civilization and humanity. That's his view, and that's how he interprets it. So whether it's a metaphor, from what he holds and what he's mentioned, and he says the view of many of the awliya of Sham is that it's literal. Allahu A'lam. Allahu A'lam.
Right. Okay, so one person's asking, if a woman was praying, could she read slightly louder to allow young children under 5 to know what to read in the prayer?
Faddal, that's for you. That's a nice simple one. Now go on to that.
No. I mean,
No, they can't. So no, I'm not going to answer.
no. As I don't know, whatever understanding I've got, wherever I got it from, but I don't think they can. They just read quietly, and they outside the prayer they can teach them how to pray. It's not like you can only teach them whilst you're praying, and I think that's the key thing here. But Allah A'lam.
Yeah. So what Sheikh Doctor has said is the view of the Hanafis, that it's makruh for a woman to read aloud while she's praying. So yeah, there are other views that say there's no harm in doing that. It's not the Hanafi view, but there are views that state that. And in particular, if it's for the purpose of teaching others, then there's no harm. Then there's no. So for the Hanafis, no, she shouldn't do that. But there are accepted views that allow that. Wallahu a'lam.
Okay, so controversial issue is timings in Ramadan. So Hassan Khalid Saab is asking, in Ramadan specifically, there's a bunch of Fajr times. So there's a bunch of Fajr times floating around. Would there be any harm in taking one of the much earlier times for Fajr due to reasons such as it allows for ease at work and you'd have more time to sleep? If so, should one stick to the same Fajr ruling outside Ramadan for the sake of consistency?
This coming, I'm going to ask you this one, this coming Ramadan, are we still within that grey area where there's no Isha, or there is an actual Isha now, isn't there?
Tell you what.
Are we into that time when we have actual Isha?
I think maybe there might be a few days. There might be a few days. I keep forgetting the exact date. I think there will be a few days, maybe even a week or so, where we have true Isha time and true Fajr time coming, albeit really late.
Yes, one answer then to that. When we don't have an actual Isha or an actual Fajr time, and it's just it's a calculated time based on each jihad, then there is scope for them. So if holding to one particular time makes it easier for you, which usually is the early one, because then it allows people who are working just to have like a clear run with their sleep, then inshallah, then there's no harm, provided you just don't play around with that. That's the one thing that people should be careful of, like one day choosing one time, next day choosing another time 2 hours later. As long as you don't play around with it, then there's no harm in that. It's an issue which Wallahu.
We had, I think, got a couple of questions on this. Can you be born gay, or are you born on fitra, then a child can change based on environment?
It's environment. The Prophet, can you be born gay? He can, yeah. I mean, asking, can Allah do that? Absolutely. Absolutely, he can do that. Does he do that? كل مولود ولد على الفطرة. Every newborn is born in a pure state, in a natural state. And gay is not a natural state. So Allahu A'lam. And then it's the parents who make them, the parents who allow them, or they get exposed to all kinds around them. And then they start declaring that they are that. That's not naturally how a person's born. Allahu A'lam.
Okay. Easy question now.
It's easy, then you're answering, yeah. In fact, I should give you the other ones. We'll go on, yeah.
So in Jummah, when we're listening to the khutbah, Anonymous is asking, there's a point where people move from having the hands folded to putting them down on their knees. Is there any basis to this?
No, there isn't. No, there is no basis to that, not within the madhab, nor within the sunnah. So what is it? So they'll fold the hands for the first khutbah and then place the hands on the thighs. There is no basis for that. What's from the sunnah? Sorry, go on. Let me just finish that point. What's from the sunnah, and this is a recommended practice by the imams of the madhab, is that you sit during the khutbah as you would sit within the prayer. So the tashahhud sitting, that's preferable. But in terms of placing your hands on your stomach, under your belly button, and your hands on your thighs, no, there's nothing to that.
So here's a few questions about sitting in the khutbah. I mean, you're free to move around a little bit, are you?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. In some of the books of fiqh, they state it's forbidden for a person during the khutbah to do whatever is forbidden to do within the prayer. So like eating and drinking and talking, they're the prohibited acts. Just moving around just to make yourself slightly comfortable, there's no problem with that.
Yeah. And then what's super common in mosque, and usually the biggest offenders are the people who run the mosque, is walking around and talking and speaking to people and doing collections.
A'udhu billah. They should be shouted at by the imam. In Kulyam, I shout at people who do that.
Yeah, I think the imam encourages it in our mosque, but it is really common. People think because they're helping, with the Jummah, that they get to talk, and then people are pointing to you saying, "Oh, within." People doing collections because it's for the mosque.
When I started in the khutbah in Abdullah Kulli Masjid, which is around over 5 years ago, it was common practice there that there was no sense that you cannot do anything during the khutbah other than remain silent and listen. So I really made an issue and just repeatedly, Jummah after Jummah after Jummah, just saying, just be quiet. Whether you like the khutbah or not, just be quiet and don't say anything. And that's the Prophet's instruction is clear, that even if a person sat next to you is talking, you tell him be quiet, then you've done wrong. Then you've done wrong just by telling him be quiet. The only one who can address people is the khatib. Yeah, so categorically it shouldn't happen. Wallahu a'lam.
Well, this is a question from Tariq Ali Raza, and he's talking about how, I don't know how you say it, Hagia Sophia. Yeah. So he's talking about the reaction of Muslims. Why do many Muslims consider it okay or good that Sultan Muhammad al-Fatih, may Allah have mercy on his soul, converted the Hagia Sophia from a church to a mosque? Isn't it wrong since Sayyidina Umar, may Allah radiallahu anhu, refused to even pray in a church when he conquered Jerusalem out of fear that others after him would convert the church into a mosque, mashallah. You've got to admire the foresight of the companions. Amazing. Mashallah.
So what's your thoughts on that? Should Al-Fatih have done that or not?
Well, I'll tell you what, prior to this recent affair where it got turned back into a mosque, if you can say that, I was pretty ignorant on the issue, but obviously looked into it and read what people. So there's a guy called Shibli from Mecca. Do you know him? Shibli.
No.
Shibli is a really interesting character, right? He's a bit of a hothead, but he's a great guy, and he's really well versed, right? And he's fluent in Hebrew. He's fluent in Greek. He's fluent in Aramaic and Arabic. And things like that. And he's really into his history, among other things. So he made the point that Muhammad al-Fatih, they didn't take it by force, although as conquerors they could have, right, taken it by force. But the mosque was kind of not being used, even at that time. It was in disrepair. And the people who did the most damage to it were other Christians. So the point here was that they bought it. It was sold to them. They could have taken it by force as conquerors, but they bought it. And out of respect, right, they haven't, even effaced some of the paintings. They've just covered them up. So that shows the type of person that Muhammad al-Fatih and the people who came after him were like. So in that sense, in terms of historically what happened, it's totally fine. We buy churches in the UK all the time, make them into mosques. We don't take them by force, but if they're for sale, then why not turn a place of worship into a place of worship, but for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I think the context is the thing.
There you go, Tariq. That's your answer there. Jazakallah khair. That's why you're on here, folk. I want you to
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Okay, another political question. Abbasids. Did the Abbasids have the right to overthrow the Umayyads, or were they wrong in doing so?
In principle, overthrowing leadership is wrong, even if the tyrants, there's too much of that now. So in principle, it's wrong. But the Umayyads, they had a real problem with the Ahlul Bayt. They had a real problem, and so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed for it to come to an end. It's the shortest empire or dynasty of the Muslims, and that's part of the reason why, because of how they treated the household. But yet, no, in principle, there should be no overthrowing, and that's one of the reasons why Imam Malik famously, he refused to give that bay'ah. So yeah, in principle, no.
But they had issues with the Abbasids. I mean, the Abbasids were not any kinder to the Alawis. I mean, they were dreadful. In fact, it's quite heartbreaking, really, when you read. But Okay. So sweepstakes, entering sweepstakes and prizes. Are they the prizes won from them? Are they halal? I won a PS5 from a Doritos bag and don't know what to do. You can PM us later. We'll tell you where to send it. Yeah. Now, mashallah, I mean, it's good that it's preying on your conscience.
As long as it's not a raffle. As long as it's not a raffle where you're paying money for it. You could argue, you could kind of say that I've bought something. That's, if you just separate the two, that's just I'm buying a packet of crisps, whether or not there was a potential.
Listen, Doritos is not just a packet of crisps. Yeah.
What is it?
It's a savory delight.
Sangy cheese. That's what it is, isn't it? Just a bit.
Mashallah.
No, the Doritos is okay. But yeah, no, so yeah, Allah, that'll be fine to do. Allah. It's just a problem if it's a direct raffle where you're paying for a ticket, and then for a draw to take place. That's when it becomes haram.
A lot of end time stuff here. Ibrahim Hussein is asking, not Ibrahim. Ismail Afzal is asking, Imam Suti said that Islam will end by the year 1500. Do contemporary scholars support that? Did he say that 1500 years?
Yeah, around that time. Yeah, he has a work on that as well. Yeah. That's based on his ijtihad. That's based upon his reading of the ahadith of the end times. So that's his view, and there are some who agreed with that. But it's not qat'i. You cannot stay for definite what it is. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told Jibreel al-mas'ulu anha bi'a'lam min as-sa'il. The one who's asked is not more learned than the one who's being asked. So you can read the signs, and you can come to some conclusion. That's what Imam Suyuti has done, but that's not definitive. Allahu Akbar.
Okay. So another question to do with gay rights. Can I represent gay rights in an employment law case if I have to for work? I'm employed, and a case would come like this. to stop gay people from being discriminated against for being gay. Is this okay?
Fadl, answer the question.
Yeah, it's fine. You mean, you know, people who losing their job, and it's not because of the way they're executing their job. It's not because they're doing a bad job. That's what you're essentially defending, right? So there's no reason not to represent anyone.
So you wouldn't say it's acceptable to target him just because he's gay at work?
No, I think you have employees. You employ them to do a job, and providing they can do the job, right, and providing they're executing the job professionally, then that's fine. But if you sack them because of their religion, or you sack them because of some other non-work related issue, then that is a problem. And that's what he would be, or she would be, defending in an employment case.
So just to add to that, so yeah, I agree with our dear respected Shaykh.
Listen, just
okay, Allama. With our Allama.
Yeah.
We all work with non-Muslims. Kufr is far worse than homosexuality. So and just targeting somebody because of certain behaviors that are wrong. That's incorrect. That's wrong. So yeah. So essentially, what Dr. Javed there mentioned, which is that if he's being unfairly treated in his work because of if it's because of his standard of work, that's one thing. But if just because he's gay, then it is acceptable to defend him. Allahu A'lam.
All right. So what else have we got here?
Still no.
All right. Okay. Is there anything where it says Allah takes a person's soul directly upon death rather than through the angel Israel? Or
yeah, there is. Yeah, in Surah Zumar, Allahu yatawaffa al-anfusa hina mawtiha. Allah takes the soul of a person when he dies. And there are some who hold a view, and that applies in very specific cases, literally where, but bila tajsim, it's not saying that Allah comes and like rips the soul out without any intermediaries or without any wasa'it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removes the soul directly. I think there's mention of somebody, for example, who dies at sea. There are certain things that are mentioned where the angel itself doesn't take. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removes directly. But just to be clear on that, bila kayf. We don't ask about how he subhanahu wa ta'ala does that. That just proves that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has no need for the angel to do it. Wallahu a'lam.
okay, let's the question that goes back to women reading out aloud. This is by Navida Qadi. Is praying aloud for women disliked even during Tahajjud? It can really help with consolidating Quran memorization. Aloud.
So yeah, for the Hanafis, yeah, it's all prayers for the Hanafis, but just 2 points, again, similar to the first one. If it genuinely makes it easier, then okay, yeah, then just take the view of the Shafi'is if it makes it easier for her. And the second point, from my own experience in terms of memorizing Quran and practicing Quran, it actually strengthens your memory more where you read it quietly. Reading it quietly actually shows you that it's more settled, that meaning is more settled within you. Allahu A'lam. Well, yeah, no, if you genuinely feel that it will improve, then take the view of the Shafi'is. Naam, Sheikh. Marhaba.
Yusuf is asking, I don't know why I'm laughing, to be honest, because it's a genuine question, but it just made me chuckle. Can a woman who wears hijab quickly go to her garden without hijab when no one is watching? so no one would see her with her hair uncovered? Or in general, can a Muslim woman wear Western swimming clothes when only her husband and kid can see her, or when only other Muslim women can see her?
The first
The
one,
two parts.
go on, Sheikh Saab, answer the first one.
Yeah, she can, but I mean, the question is, how sure are we that no one can see? I think that would be the concern.
1 second. Fatima, where's your scarf? You're talking about hijab. Go and get it on. Nobody
Yeah.
look at Fatima's head.
Oh no. Yeah, so
Cover your head. In fact, let's get a hat on you. Okay.
so hijab, you're covering
Get a scarf.
your hair from people. So if there's no people there, no problem. Question is, are there Google drones? Are there this? Are there that? That's you never know these days. You never know.
Yeah. And Musa,
The,
don't do that. You sit there. Yeah. So yeah, agreed. Like if you can be certain or fairly certain that there's no, don't do that. That there's nobody looking, then it's fine. Otherwise, she should be careful. That's the first. Go on, Sheikh Hamza Wahid. They should both beat you up. Look at that, Hamza saying you.
I don't know.
Beat you up.
I don't know.
The second one was Allahumma.
So the second one was about wearing sort of Western style swimming clothes in front of family or just Muslim women.
What do you mean by that? Javed, you're an expert on women's swim gear, aren't you?
Yeah, I paid attention in your class on that, but
Oh, you know.
yeah, no, I'm assuming it's, I don't know. I'm assuming it's just tight stuff, is it?
Is it like a bikini?
But I think the easy way to think of it is the in front of your family, your mahrams, and in front of Muslim women, your aura is between your knees and your navel.
That's right.
But am I right that the back is not part of it?
What do you mean by the lower back?
Yeah, like the back down here. Sorry, or down here. Down here, that needs to be covered.
No, that's the same.
Is it the same? Because I'm sure recently I heard somewhere that's.
Sorry, the belly button going around front and back.
Yeah.
That beneath there is the same. It's aura, yeah. But it's above that. If you drew a line around from the belly button, and the back upwards, up of that, that's aura. Oh, that's not Afwan. No, sorry, I'm saying it wrong. That's not aura.
Yeah.
So in answer to the sister's question about so if you're talking like a bikini, because that's usually what's worn. So like the problem is the thighs. Like thighs cannot be uncovered in front of mahram. And then there's also the problem about tightness. So although tightness is not exposing, but tightness is still an issue. There's some karaha, there's some dislike within that. Wallahu a'lam.
Well, like in terms of one of the sort of common questions that come up when it's hijab, particularly in people who have non-Muslim family, like for instance, the sister Navida Qadi is just asking, does she need to cover in front of her non-Muslim in-laws, including female members? So that's always a difficult one. What would you say to that?
That she doesn't need to unless she doesn't need to because of the Hanbali madhab. The Hanbali madhab, they hold the view that the aura of a woman in front of a non-Muslim woman is the same, navel to knee. Unless there's some concern that non-Muslim family member, whether it be male or female, would start describing what she looks like to an unrelated person.
But what about father-in-laws? Non-Muslim father-in-laws.
Oh, we just a while back we looked into that mess. I can't remember that. But I think there's permissibility in that. But I need to look into that again. Allahu a'lam.
Okay, this has come up somewhere recently as well. Anonymous is asking, Hamza Qudus Kausar Wahid told me to ask this. Is it permissible for someone who is unmarried to have phone numbers of the opposite gender?
What was you didn't answer that? What's the answer?
Did I not answer that?
No.
No, I think I did. I said, well, it depends, doesn't it? It depends. You might have it for work, right? But if you're doing it just to DM someone on the sly, then you need to start behaving. I think it's.
So is that how you justify it?
I don't justify anything, but you got to be. I mean, especially now because it's so easy for some. See, before phone calls were just, number one, the phone was chained to the wall, right, and everyone could hear, and it just wasn't convenient, and it was. And people just didn't speak for ages on the phone, and then with mobile phones, it's getting out of hand. Then WhatsApp messages, then it turns into sending people a funny GIF or a funny picture, and it can descend into, inappropriateness very quickly. So people have to be responsible, but you can't say a blanket no, because there may be a cause that someone has someone's number, maybe their work, maybe school, right, project or something like that. It's difficult to say blanket no. Shaykh, give us some guidance.
Are you justifying that naughty behavior?
No. I'm not.
They're not all at your age.
No.
They're not all at your age.
They don't call me Akil, man. It's just
saying they're not all at your age where you've got complete control over everything, mashallah.
Yeah, stop
your gaze and your thoughts.
No,
you reach some wilaya. These
don't trust anyone, even an old man.
These young boys are really hot, man. Hot Hamza Wahid.
No, but what I mean, what would you say on that?
Just give me one moment. Let me make these two disappear, and then I'll come back.
Okay.
So going off what are we saying?
No. What are you saying, Shaykh? What are you saying?
First of all, I'm saying Hamza Wahid is a hot, horny young man, so he should have no numbers except of his mother and his sisters and his wife, assuming he is still married, because I don't know with that guy. Other than that, I think people should be careful. People should be careful. There are reasons, like people you work with, other acquaintances, but other than that, there are boundaries that need to be set, and boundaries like that can easily be crossed. So just to have like as a casual friend and so on, there is no such thing. So both should be careful on that. Wallahu a'lam.
Okay, some quick, easy ones. Can you say in some of these fancy hotels in Mecca, they say the room has a Kaaba view? Is that permissible to say Kaaba view?
Well, I don't see what the problem is, because if you can actually see the Kaaba, then it's a Kaaba view, right?
Yeah.
No problem with that. I mean, that's just about promotion. That's all I'm assuming it is. But it's not false promotion. So yeah. Allahu a'lam.
This is a tough one, this one. When being asked about someone's past for the sake of marriage, should one mention one's major sins, such as zina, as it's even permissible to backbite on this occasion? Should we be brutally honest?
No. So if either of them have been in a haram relationship before and even committed zina, first of all, like when they're considering a proposal or when they're actually married, they shouldn't expose, as long as they make tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there is no such connection.
And am I right that they, in Sharia, if they're not being married before, they're still considered virgin?
That's Abu Hanifa's view, yeah. Yeah, that's right. So often, but just on that point, even if the partner, like now they're married, asks directly, like, were you in that relationship? Did you do such and such? Then they don't need to be honest about it. And then there's also a thing about backbiting. Backbiting, I'm assuming that means if somebody comes and asks you about that person, like there's a proposal, like what you know about that person, and if that's in their past and they've changed and that's gone, then there's no requirement to mention that. You shouldn't mention that.
But can you mention details? Because like if someone said to you, look, someone's proposed this boy for my daughter, and you know that the guy is trouble. I mean, do you need? You're not allowed to.
No,
are you allowed to go into details, or can you just say?
Yeah, specifics that are being asked about that relate to that marriage. Yes, but what the original question of somebody has a past changed.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, no, if something's still ongoing, whatever type, and it's going to affect that person, then it becomes potentially wajib upon you that you must mention those things.
Okay. Is this a Sufi question? Salam Shaykh, I've heard that Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah said the following: the wife is her husband's prisoner, a prisoner being akin to a slave. The Prophet directed men to support their wives by feeding them with their own food and clothing them with their own clothes. He said the same about maintaining a slave. Have you come across this? If so, what does he mean? Sounds a bit dodgy. That's how it ends.
I wouldn't say that. You're too much of a feminist, you are, Joe. That's why.
Well, I haven't even given my opinion on it. I haven't given my opinion on it.
I mean, about that particular quote.
I've been in trouble about stuff like this before, so I'm going to remain silent.
I'm trying to find, where is it? What time was that on?
And 6 minutes past 9.
9:06. Second half hasn't started yet. 9:06. I'm trying to find it. I can't find it. But yeah, I don't know the specifics of that quote, but that quote doesn't seem too far-fetched. I don't know why you're saying that, Jeff, why you're all reacting like some little girl there. That doesn't seem...
Well, I haven't said anything. I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement. You just assumed that I think differently.
So yeah, no, and calling her prisoner, there is certain statements of the Prophet about that. And even when you look at the term khula, as it's described in the Quran, فِيمَا افْتَدَتْ بِهِ, where she ransoms herself, like she returns a dowry, makes a payment to ransom herself. That's the language of a prisoner, but she's not a slave. Like she's restricted, she's limited. For example, she can't leave the home without her husband's permission, unless he gives a general permission. And he has to provide for her, has to take care of her, and so on. So, clearly, like she is restricted under the authority of her husband. However, she's not a slave in the sense that, because a clear distinction, she can't be bought and sold. She's not a commodity. He doesn't physically own her as a person. So there is a distinction there, but definitely there are limitations in Sharia.
I mean, would you say like when we're talking about slaves and prisoners? I mean, I've always understood it. What we're focusing on here is a complete accountability and responsibility of the husband with respect to the wife is similar with the respect to prisoners or slaves. It's not about slavery. It's not about being a prisoner, but it's about him being completely responsible for them in every element.
Yeah, that's nice, Masha. That's nice. That's a lovely answer.
No, but I mean, okay. Well, let's move on swiftly.
Well, again, that's all good, but if you flip that around, legally she's restricted. Guided by the law, then she's very restricted under the authority of her husband.
Yeah.
Masha, you change your tune now that you're going on.
Yeah. Okay. Salam Sheikh, a person who doesn't have a desire for the opposite gender, do the rules regarding gender relations change?
No.
Like texting, friendships, hijab rulings?
No. Nadir la hukm lah. Something that's not normal, something that's rare. has no rule. We don't base rules upon rare cases. So the norm is that there will be that type of attraction relationship. So that's what we base the rule upon. So no.
We need to answer some of Sister Shabana Khan's questions here. She's asking, what is the ruling of saying Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam after articulating or writing the blessed name of our Prophet Sayyidina Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? Is the ruling also tied to saying an appellage, title, laqab, or just his actual name? Likewise, what is the ruling of articulating and writing radiyallahu anhu or anha after the names of companions, and rahmatullah alayh after the names of righteous? And is it sinful in any of these cases if not written or articulated?
طيب. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. The wajib of uttering salawat is if you say or hear. Of writing, it's also wajib to write it. But if you've written his name and you wrote the salawat, then there's no wajib that you must then say sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Because writing the salawat, peace be upon him, that covers that. So that's the first point. So if you've written it and you've written sallallahu alayhi wasallam, peace be upon him, then that fulfills your duty.
What if you write SAW? So
No. You did that on purpose. No, man, that's just. I mean, some of the imams are so harsh and severe against that. And that person should be punished for that. Like, was it fingers cut or hands cut?
Was it Shaykh Saeed Ramadan al-Bouti or someone in one of the awliya from Sham wrote a book, and the printing press said, look, if we just write SAW or the equivalent in Arabic, Sad, I think is it they just write Sad sometime, then we can get this book down by like a third. And he goes, no.
Yeah. He blatantly refused, yeah.
He's mashallah, every time wrote it out in full, mashallah.
And then the next point was, you've gone and deleted it, haven't you? Where is it?
No, I haven't.
It's gone somewhere.
No, is it just with his name or his laqab or appellage?
No, same with the laqab. Like if you wrote, for example, Abu al-Qasim, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, same. And if you're referring to, if you spoke about Al-Muzammil, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, so the same. And then the others, like, for example, names of companions and also the Salihin and the righteous, there it's recommended, it's mustahab to say and to write, radiyallahu anhu or rahimahullah. So with the companions and even what the sister didn't mention, other prophets, like saying Adam, must you say alayhi salam? It's not wajib. It's an issue of adab. Mention prophet's name without saying alayhi salam. It's not good etiquette because of their status, but it's not wajib. The wajib is with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam specifically. Wallahu a'lam. Ya habibi.
What is meant by this, again from the same questioner? What's meant by generation when we refer to Salaf al-Salihin? What is the
Salaf al-Salih
in terms of years, in terms of Hijri time periods for each generation, first, second, and third? Or does it even work like that?
Are you one of the Salaf as well?
No. I wouldn't call it Salaf if I was in it. Yeah.
No. The general view is that the Salaf there is Khair al-Qurun, is the actual generation itself, al-Jil. Because the Qarn, when the Prophet said the best of all generations, and he spoke about three, the term is Qarn. The general view of the Imams is that's Jil, that's the generation, so 3 generations. There is a lesser view, which is still a view, that says that refers to 300 years, and that expands it a lot more significantly. Allahu A'lam.
Car insurance.
Oh.
What's the ruling on car insurance? Specifically when you pay sort of monthly installments where interest applies.
Go on, you answer that because we're about to score. You answer that.
No, I don't want to answer something. That's a serious question.
So car
basically, car insurance is a lot for some people, and some people can't afford it, so they have to pay monthly. So if, for instance, someone's struggling and they can't pay it off in one go, they have to pay it monthly. So usually the amount is more.
Yeah.
Usually they quote you a different amount, which is more. So would that be like the same as two prices?
It is. I mean, the issue here is that, first of all, insurance in general, insurance is prohibited. But here there's a legal requirement that you must take it in order to drive a car. So that's the first point. The legal requirement allows for it. But then on top of that, then the second point that's rightly raised is that if you paid it as a one-off for the year, then there's no further issue because you just entered into contract with them. But now, the way that it's structured pretty much with all insurance companies is that if you can't, they'll do it as a monthly installment. But that's a loan. They actually state in the contract that they're lending you that money and they're charging you interest for it. So Muslims should avoid that at all costs and look at other possibilities. Try and save up that amount so that every year you're paying it off as a one-off. Okay, maybe 1,000, maybe 1,500, maybe 2,000. You can save that up. Or instead of entering into a contract with the insurance company, see if you can set up with somebody that you know who can afford that, and then just set up a monthly installment, borrow that money from him or her, and then just pay it back off in monthly installments to that person. But if there are no options available, it's mushkil, it's a problem because now you're entering into an interest-based contract, so that's definitely a problem. But what you do then?
Well, what's the situation where, because people get fleet insurance, right? So let's just say someone has fleet insurance, and so like every member of the family has their car on the fleet insurance. Are they all accountable for it, or just the person whose name's on the document?
It's that person. Yeah, it's the direct contract. Yeah, it's just that person. Allahu.
Is there a hadith? This is Adil Qudus. Is there a hadith where believers do sajda to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Jannah because one veil is lifted and they mistake him for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the angels stop them? Please, can you explain this, as this is being used for people to do sajda to awliya? I've heard that.
I've not heard of that. There is mention about on the Day of Judgment where a form appears and they do sajda, and then they're told this is not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that's not inside of Jannah to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So just the first point, I'll need to look into that and find if there is any such hadith. Even if there is, no.
Yes. I've got the news.
It's happening again. Oh my God. Can we finish?
Oh, yeah, might as well go on now.
Hamza, can you just get off now, please, and just disappear? Don't worry, it's 2-1. It's going to be 2-1. We've got enough time there. Mo Salah hat-trick, 3-1. So, yeah. Allahumma salli alayhi. So, even if there was such a narration, then that itself couldn't be used as justification because the Prophet categorically forbade anybody to do sajda to him in this world. So even the dunya, the akhirah, there's no ahkam that we start bringing into that. We don't apply that to this world. Especially when he categorically forbade them from bowing down in front of him. So, and even with such a narration, it's hard to understand how it can be used as a justification. Wallahu a'lam. And that's why, and he said, any human being to do sajda in front of them is haram. The Prophet forbade for him. So, no, it doesn't make any sense. Wallahu a'lam. Well, Adil, next time I see you, you start coming in and kissing me feet, mate. And when you're kissing me feet, that's not sajda. And I promise you, I'll wear a clean pair of socks. Oh my God.
Okay. Ibrahim's asking about Ibn Arabi. Who is he? What does Sunni scholars say about him? And is there one? Well, I'm asking, is there more than one Ibn Arabi?
You answer the questions. What's going on here?
No.
Oh, come on.
This is,
This is,
you're part of that Facebook group, Lovers of Ibn Arabi, aren't you?
am I?
Are you not?
Oh, if I am, that's those funky, weird, like goofy.
Yeah.
I thought it was a serious group, and these are anyhow.
Yeah.
So even Arabi, and you speak my Shaykh al-Akbar, Sufi Shaykh. Most of it, yeah. What's the view of Ahl Sunnah that he's a Shaykh al-Akbar? He's the greatest. He's given the title of the greatest Shaykh. So that tells us something about him, his rank within the Imams of Ahl Sunnah. There has been some criticism about what he says, but most of those can be explained. So that's the general view. The level that he spoke at, so many of the Imams of Ahl Sunnah said that for the awam, the uneducated, they shouldn't really delve too much into what he says because the level that he's speaking at is too high. But he's accepted as the greatest Shaykh in the realms of spirituality. So that's the general view of the Imams of Ahl Sunnah about it. Allahu A'lam.
Okay. Married couples, is there any restrictions to what they can and can't do, apart from the obvious back passage thing?
There are certain things that are preferable not to do. Like even, for example, the Prophet spoke about having sexual relations, discouraging it where they have nothing covering over them, completely naked and nothing over them. He discouraged that, and he compared that to 2 donkeys. So there are certain, but generally most practices are permissible. Most practices are permissible. Allahu A'lam.
Okay. So we've got a question from Anonymous here saying that in my wider family, there's a big conflict going on, each side attempting to rebuke the other side, posting Quranic verses, hadith, quotes from scholars on WhatsApp, stories that so everyone can see it. Is this permissible?
Using a hadith and ayat as ammunition and war against each other. That's what it sounds like, right? I'm trying to find where it is.
924.
Yeah. No, people shouldn't do that. It's just like each one have got their own viewpoints and they're using as ammunition against each other, ayat and ahadith. And more often than not, like most of these things have interpretation, can be explained in certain ways. Although it depends on what the dispute is about. Generally, like with something like that, unless you have some understanding and awareness of what you're speaking about, just stay out of these arguments and discussion. If your family member won't accept what you're saying and you know what you're saying is correct, but they're staunch in their ways, then what's the point of just like throwing ayat and it's not munazara. You're not debaters. So just let it be, Allahu A'lam.
Says Fatima's asking, is it wrong to delay paying a mortgage off when you have other properties fully paid off?
Yeah. If you're able to pay it off quicker, then you should do so. Try and get out of interest first and try and get out of debt. Try and get out of both. So the fact that you got other properties paid off means that there are ways of you being able to clear that as well. So yeah, interest, it's too severe an issue, and even debt is a major problem. So yeah, try and get out of it straight away. Try your utmost to get out of your interest and your debt. Allahu A'lam.
So what's your advice? Someone's trying to build their iman, but the spouse doesn't take an interest. How do you approach this?
Be like Sayyidah Asya, one of the 4 greatest women. She's in a household with Fir'aun, who's waging war against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if the 2 partners are not walking the same journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then at least you just continue your own journey. And your husband's now an obstacle. He's an obstacle there. So you work with that. Yeah, obstacles come in so many different forms, and not for you is your obstacle. It's your hurdle in life, the direct one that you have to overcome. You've been placed in that relationship. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed you to be in that relationship for a particular reason. Wallahu a'lam.
It's amazing when we sort of think about the four sort of perfect women. They're all different circumstances, yet they all reach that level of perfection. You know, like you can't get a more nasty husband than Fir'aun.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, and then you have, you know, say Sayyidatuna Maryam without a husband.
Yeah.
It's amazing, mashallah.
And that point is so important that Javed's made there. That's such an important observation that when you look at Kamal, whether it's men or women, perfection, whether it's man or a woman, the way to reach that is different. The circumstances are so different. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts different hurdles in front of you, all of which can be overcome. Allahu A'lam.
We've got a question about fasting because Ramadan's coming up, so we'll do this. I've got an ulceration in my stomach, says Anonymous. So fasting causes me pain and sickness. What is the ruling on this? The doctor has left it to me to decide.
Doctor, you're the doctor. You tell them what should he do.
I'm a dentist, right? So
same thing, isn't it? Treat some guy's tooth, you can treat his stomach, can't you?
So I don't know.
What have they brought on Origi for? What's Origi coming on for? What's he doing?
It's best not to pay attention to it now at this point.
He had one great moment, well, two great moments last year, wasn't it? Or the year before. Two great moments, and that's it. I thought, oh my God. Tell you, what was it?
So someone's got an ulcer in their stomach, so fasting causes them pain and sickness. What is the ruling on this? The doctor left it to them to decide.
That's interesting. Why did the doctor say that? When he says he left it to him to decide, does that mean he's saying that it's possible that you're able to fast or not? You need some further clarity, because medical issues are primarily, that's down to the doctor to give advice and counsel. So you're saying it's hard to fast and it's causing you problems, but the doctor's leaving it for you to decide. And here we're talking about Muslim doctor. The Muslim doctor you need to go to a Muslim doctor who can give you some clearer advice. If he's now saying that, okay, it's a problem, but you'll be able to cope while fasting, then you base it upon that. It shouldn't just be based on your own judgments in a case like that.
And a Muslim doctor who would tell you to fast if you possibly could. Because there's plenty of, I know Muslim doctors, slight headache, oh yeah, I'm not fasting. Yeah, I've got a slight headache.
Yeah.
And they're getting more and more common. So I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough one now.
Well, so in the end, for that brother, just find a reliable, trustworthy Muslim doctor, and they are still there. They do still exist. Give Dr. Javed a call. He'll help you, and then base it upon the advice of that Muslim doctor.
Okay, there's a zakat question. All right, for a cash asset to be liable for zakat, do we have to have held it for the full year? Will any cash held for 2 or 3 months become liable for zakat when everyone's zakat becomes due?
Everyone's. I hope there's not somebody who believes you pay the zakat.
Right? Whenever one's zakat becomes due.
Bismillah, you answer that one. It's a nice, straightforward, simple zakat question.
So you need to be sahib in nisab. You need to have that nisab level of wealth for 12 months. It's not like someone gives you $10 or £10 or 10 rupees, and you need that £10 for 12 whole months before you pay zakat from it. It's if you have nisab, if you have that level of wealth for 12 months, sorry, then yeah, if someone the day before your zakat gives you 100 quid, and you pay on that 100 quid as well as the rest.
What if you said 100 quid? What if somebody gives you you inherited the very day before your zakat date 50,000? Are you now going to have to pay on that as well? even though 12 months has not passed on you owning that, it was only one day.
Yeah.
It's a large amount, that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
It
yeah,
is.
that's the answer. That's the answer. As long as you're already above the threshold, it doesn't require every amount of money that you have. That 12 months must pass for every single individual amount. Yeah.
What's the situation where, like, some people who are on the limit, so maybe some of the year they are Sahib Nisab and then some of the year they dip below. When does it reset? How does it reset?
Your zakat date resets if you dip down to zero. If you're down to zero, then you lose your zakat date, and then you start the process all over again.
Okay, but like, what if within a year you had the nisab limit for 4 months, and the remaining 8 months you didn't, right? You weren't zero, but you were below the nisab limit.
Then, as long as when your date comes, you are above, and you still pay zakat. So if it dips beneath the nisab, provided it doesn't go down to zero, then you still pay zakat.
Okay. Oh, this is definitely for you. When a man is looking for a spouse, should he just look at one wrist at a time, or talk to a few potentials, keep them running together, check them all out?
Yeah, so when I saw that question, what came to mind?
Sorry?
Look at Rawdah Trust. Put your mic off, please. Thaqib, yeah. See, when I saw that, I was thinking, what if he's actually looking to get married to 2 or 3 or 4? Then he'd have to, right? So let's assume this guy's looking to get married to 4 at the same time. So then he has to speak to him. He may need to start speaking to a lot more than 4. But there's no restrictions for a man to limit it to considering one proposal at a time. You can consider more than one.
What about to a sister?
Likewise for a woman, provided there hasn't been an agreement. So what that means, like usually nowadays, the agreement is the engagement. That's when it's usually confirmed. Prior to that, if a woman, she hasn't made any commitments to anybody and she receives 2 proposals, she can consider both of them. Especially because considering proposal doesn't mean you start going out with them, start dating them and start like chatting to them all the time. It's just, there's a simple process involved in that. So she can, but once she's agreed to marry, kind of engaged, and she cannot receive another proposal. The Prophet forbade that. With a man in that situation, he can, because he's still open to marry a 2nd or a 3rd or a 4th. But for a woman, she can't at that point. Allahu A'lam.
This is a tough one. Anonymous is asking if a Muslim gives £10,000 to one child of hers in her lifetime, and the remaining siblings have a claim on this after the mother passes. The remaining siblings are arguing that all the children weren't treated the same, and therefore the reward for the deceased mother is limited. Therefore, the £10,000 should be evenly distributed.
No, that's wrong. That's wrong. Why is that wrong, Dr. Sam?
Because when she's alive, she's given the money, so she can give it to whoever she wants, and then it's theirs. It doesn't matter whether it's fair or unfair. That's a separate issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So the principle about fairness in terms of giving wealth and gifts to your children, according to most of the imams, it's encouraged to evenly spread your wealth across them when you gift them, but there's no obligation to do so. So in that case, that mother who gave 10,000 to one, she was entitled to do that. She could have given that 10,000 away to a complete stranger, or to charity, or to anything. She can do whatever she wants. So now they're saying, now they're saying that, and it's less than the reward for it, and so it was her money. She can do whatever she wants. So they have no right over that. Once she gave that to that particular child of hers, that then belongs to that child, and so they have no right. There's no issue of inheritance with wealth that's transferred to a person during a lifetime. Wallahu a'lam.
Okay, a couple of marriage questions here. Should a sister in her mid to late 30s just marry for the sake of being married, or wait to marry someone who will be a good example, influence on their children?
We have the case of Sahaba who on their deathbed, where their wife has just died as well. They're saying, get me married to someone, get me married to someone. I don't want to face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a bachelor. So there is something significant just about being married for the sake of being married, the protection, the thought, and so on. But yeah, then at the same time, there are other factors that need to be considered. But people need to bring the bar down. It's been set a bit too high, like for reasons for getting married and reasons not getting married. So as long as that person is suitable, even half decent, then just get married. Don't complicate the process of marriage. It's become too complicated now. Allahu Akbar.
Okay,
Can I watch the wire whilst listening to this Q&A? If you're watching Liverpool lose their title, oh, it's painful. Yeah, it's painful. You know what? I should switch it off, but I know we're going to score 3. We've got, how long have we got?
Listen, don't worry about it. Look, we have half a team. It's not like most of our first choice players aren't there, and we're still knocking around at the top. Okay, and you know, if this is a bad season, imagine what a good season is for us.
But you know what? If this stays as it is, Burnley and then Brighton have come to Liverpool and won. I feel that's unheard of. That's just insane. How can that happen?
It's because it's Nazar. It's Nazar.
That it is.
Okay,
That's what killed us. Dyke and the whole of our defence. Just pure Nazar.
Anyway.
It's all from all those monk boys, and that's what it is.
Okay.
Anything further? Let's carry on.
Yeah, Mahar. How much is Mahar? Salam Shaykh, I pray all is well. I wanted to ask, what is the Sunnah Mahar amount for Nikah? I heard that Ali Radiallahu anhu's Mahar was approximately 650 bond. Is there a specific method?
Did you say bond?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a specific method to calculate it?
Yeah, there is, yeah. First of all, it's commonly referred to as Al-Mahar al-Fatimi. But interestingly, the Prophet in a couple of his marriages, he also gave the same dowry. So it's not just limited to Sayyidina Ali gave that. The Prophet himself gave it. So that's a recommended dowry. 400 dirhams. The amount is 400 silver coins, and 1 dirham equates to 3.5 grams of silver. So do the sums on that. I think that's 1,400 grams of silver. So on the day of the marriage, 1,400 grams of silver, whatever that equates to, that's the preferred. But some people still confuse preferred as an obligation. Preferred means it's good to do that. What's the dowry? Whatever the couple agree upon. Whatever the couple agree.
And there's one other marriage one somewhere. Okay.
Saqib joined us to sing.
Should we continue with sunnahs? Yeah, this is a good one. Should we continue with sunnahs and nawafil prayers when we've got qada prayers to do?
Sunnah mu'akkadas, you should continue. Nawafil, qada is more important than nafil. Qada is more important than nafil. Don't say that, oh my God, what are they doing? Qada is more important than nafil. Sunnah mu'akkadas you should try and do. But that answer is provided you are actually getting through qada. If the amount of qada is so large that you realize you're not actually getting through anything, then prioritize your qada over any sunnahs. Qada is too much of an issue. Wallahu a'lam.
What any books you recommend on raising children?
You tell me. Somebody, Hamza Yusuf, down in Micro Madrasa, he recommended. I've been given a copy of a book by Shaykh Hussein. I think he's in Leeds or Sheffield. He's written about rulings of raising children. Just recently be written. I've had a quick look through and mashallah, it's good. It's good. A lot of technical details, but mashallah, it's a good book. So maybe if you want to look at this, what is it? Rulings of Raising Children by Israr Hussein. It's just recently been written.
What do you think about a lot of Muslims reading books on mindfulness and stuff like that from non-Muslims, kind of bordering on spiritual stuff, or quoting Buddha, or quoting, with a spiritual intent?
Honestly, you answer that, because I know it's a loaded question. I know what you want me to say, and
I know what you want me to say. I'm not saying it.
I'm not doing takfir on them. That's for you if you want to do that. Yeah, mashallah. Guidance. قُلْ إِنَّ الْهُدَى هُدَى اللَّهِ قُلْ إِنَّ هُدَى اللَّهِ هُوَ الْهُدَى. Guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. General points of advice that are not based tied into religion, then fair enough. You take wisdom from wherever it comes. But once it becomes spiritual and religious in nature, قُلْ إِنَّ الْهُدَى هُدَى اللَّهِ. The only guidance is the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Okay, important question.
You wanted me to say more to that, didn't you?
Question.
That's just another sign of just being down the lizard's hole. That's all they are. That's all Muslims are now, just down the lizard's hole.
This one's about adoption. I've got another question about adoption, but I'll ask you that privately. Can a sister adopt a child and use her sister's milk so that the child becomes mahram? If so, what are the implications of this for both the adopter and the sister?
Well, what's the answer?
Well, providing the child's of the right age, then the sister becomes the mother, the milk mother. Yeah.
What's the right age?
Well, depends. 18 months, 2 years, according to Imam Abu Hanifa.
2 years? No, that's everybody else. What's Abu Hanifa's view?
I thought his was 2 years, but I thought the opinion on the madhab was 18 months. 18.
What's 18 months? Until 20. No, it's not. What are you on about?
What am I on about?
Well, 24. So 2 years is 24 months. The madhab is, not Abu Hanifa's, is 30 months. That's 2.5 years. You can do some revision on that one, yeah. Yeah, no, so all of the other imams and the sahibain, they say it's 2 years, and that's the fatwa of the madhab, 2 years, lunar years. Abu Hanifa says 2.5. So it gives a bit of extra time. Like if that infant child is past 2 years, but still less than 2.5, then that opinion can be taken, because Abu Hanifa's opinion, which is not weak. What's the consequence of that? That's pretty much it, that they become mahram. The mahram relationship means permanent prohibition for marriage to that person, and they become like your sister, your mother, and so on. They become a relationship develops.
So what's that thing that you hear that I've heard from 1 or 2 places where you're mahram in all things, but you shouldn't travel with them? I'm not looking.
No, it depends. No, yes and no.
Oh no, actually, that's not. Is that milk? Yeah. It's about milk relationships.
Well, it's not. Even that statement is a bit too loose, because it's saying in all things. For example, inheritance. There's no inheritance relationship there. Like they don't inherit from each other. So it's not in all things. Whereas a mahram would, depend upon the category, would potentially inherit. The thing about not traveling, even like potentially with just take a mother-in-law. Let's say a young mother-in-law in her early 40s, and she's still very attractive, and there's some fear of haram taking place, then it's forbidden for him to be alone with his mother-in-law, to travel with him. That's the underlying issue there. So if the milk relationship, there's some genuine concern about some type of fitna there, some type of sexual problem there, then it becomes forbidden. Wallahu a'lam. Naam ya Shaykh. We don't.
One more. Is mouthing people on TV, like football players in a match, considered backbiting?
Don't ask me, because I've done too much of that, mate. Don't ask me. Ask somebody else. Let's do another one. Yeah.
Okay. How does one address others who are of the opinion that we should strictly follow the Rasulullah, that we should bypass madhab's hadith and strictly follow the Quran?
What's your answer? Because I know that you were a firm proponent, or you were around back in the 90s when this was the war that raged. Is it madhabs or Quran?
I think people who say that we should bypass madhabs and hadith and strictly follow the Quran don't understand the Quran, right? If they understood the Quran, they would be following hadith, right? And by extension, they'd understand that the madhahibs are all about following what the Prophet ﷺ came with, but also primarily the Quran. So, you know, that's a sign that someone doesn't understand something basic about religion. That's what it is. You can't follow the Quran without following everything else.
So yeah, so absolutely, that's such a nonsensical argument to say that we strictly follow the Quran. I mean, there's a bigger problem there because this person said ignore hadith as well.
Yeah. This has now taken off big style. They used to be a laughable fringe group.
Yeah.
But now Quran only and this whole popular idea that somehow hadith are akin to hearsay is really widespread.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, do you want to answer a few more? Should we call it time?
It's just answer. Just pick one.
Look at 9:45. That one's for you, mate. Answer that one. 9:45 p.m.
Should a husband pursue a second wife without his first wife knowing? Like, is the first wife obligated to know, or can a husband do it secretly? Firstly, right, your wife knows everything you're doing, right? So don't make that mistake.
Yes.
And the second one is, you can do it. You don't have to inform your wife if you're talking about Sharan, but you're being a coward, right? Why are you hiding it from your wife? If you're a man, you'd have the balls to. Sorry about that.
Hey, keep it clean, bro. Keep it clean.
You'd have the confidence to mention it, right, rather than skulking around. That kind of stuff is just shady, right? It's not about in Sharia do you have to tell your wife, but it's just shady, right? So
just to add on to that, yeah, for that, yeah, by agreements, you don't even need to definitely not get her permission, but you don't even need to tell her. But that's just so impractical. That just becomes like a woman on the side, and there's no honoring her, and she's meant to be your second wife. So legally, it's fine, but practically, it just doesn't work. Allahu Akbar.
Usually, the cases I know where people have done that, they married one wife and then they married a second wife and then they've ended up with nothing.
Zero. Go back to 928 because, I want to answer this one. A lot of people go for speed awareness courses for someone else so that the driver doesn't get points on license. Is this okay? The reason why I want to answer this is because I had to go on a course on Monday. I was on a speed awareness course on Monday.
Can I just say, I was on one of the very first speed awareness courses.
And just to add, this was my second speed awareness course.
Yeah.
It was 4 years ago before, because every 3 years, you can only have...
How did you get a second one? I got banned the second time.
No, if it's within 3 years, then you get banned. I didn't.
Mine was outside 3 years, but I still got banned.
No, it shouldn't happen.
I didn't get the option.
No, you didn't have any insurance, did you?
No.
That's probably why. But yeah, no, that's deception. That is. No, there's no valid grounds there. Allahu Akbar. Anything else?
Is one Qarn equivalent to 300 years or 3 Qurun equal to 300 years put together?
So what we mentioned, first of all, just to be clear, we said that's a lesser opinion. That's a weaker opinion. That's not the opinion. But on that lesser opinion, 1 Qarn equals to 100 years. And 3 comes to 300.
Bank added interest to my account. Is this money permissible to keep, or is it best that I get rid of it?
That's you get rid of it.
Okay. Why do men not want to marry or delay marriage when they have been given so many options? Is that a thing? I don't know. I don't even know.
I don't know. Maybe because the woman's causing trouble. Problems are both ways. I say, why do men want to delay it? Why there's many an issue that can be raised against women, like why they're making it so hard for men to get married, setting unreasonable standards, such as saying, I'm not going to live with your mother, for example. It's become widespread nowadays. Or expecting that you have to buy a house. So now the woman's causing problems. And it works both ways. There's problems on both sides as to why marriages become so difficult. Allahu Akbar.
Yeah, it's kind of messed up, isn't it?
But
yeah, I'm not known. I think there are a lot of guys who haven't got married, but it's not because they don't want to get married. But I think after a certain age, sometimes it just becomes too much effort. Some people.
Yeah. Oh, what's it really gone and done, man? There was one last one there. Anything else you want to have a look at, or should we call it a day?
Let's just see.
924 bint Aisha needs some clarification. But the point you made about Abu Hanifa regarding those who commit zina before marriage and virginity, I don't understand it. So Abu Hanifa, he held a view that if a man and woman commit zina, when the issue of marriage proposal, if a proposal comes for her and the father goes to take permission to marry her, to give her away in marriage, the question of sukut, being silent, silence being an agreement. When the father goes and informs his daughter that he's giving her away in marriage, if she remains silent, it's enough. Unless she's already been married, where she must speak. So now the question is, what about a woman who's committed zina? So there Abu Hanif says she's treated the same as a virgin. Unless they said, and in the books of fiqh, they said, unless she's been punished for that, or it's common knowledge that she's done that, then she's treated as a woman who's been married before. Wallahu a'lam.
So, if someone asks if you're getting married and you are, but it's not finalized or it's not public, and they don't want nazar, but then at the same time it's haram to lie, how do you answer them?
There's ways around it, man. Just
Inshallah is like the most common.
ways around. Come on, I know Adam, man. He's from Cheetah Mill, man. There's ways around all of these things, man. He's talking about kidnapping people who owe money, and yeah, yeah, there's ways around it. So just figure out a way around having to say so directly.
Okay,
And then the very last thing, how do you buy a house in the UK without haram? You don't. It's very difficult. But who said it's an obligation to buy a house? If Allah subhanahu has not made it possible for you, is it obligatory to buy a house? Allahu a'lam. Are we done?
Yeah, we're done.
Alhamdulillah.
I think Liverpool are done as well.
Oh my, unbelievable. Like Burnley and Brighton come and win. That was back in the days of Brendan Rodgers. This used to happen.
Yeah.
Anyhow, alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khairan, all of you, for attending. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time, provided Liverpool are not playing. If Liverpool are playing, then we'll have to reschedule it. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. And just for the time being, enjoy that caption there on my screen. We are still the champions.